Welcome friends, you've stumbled into another one of our looks at the Canadian butter tart. And today we were going to do the recipe out of this 1970 Purity flour cookbook. And we were all set to go. And then one of our viewers emailed in and said, hey, here's the recipe from my mother's 1944 Purity cookbook. They're completely different. So between 1944 and 1970, the recipe changed immensely. So I decided we're going to do both versions, and then we're going to do a taste-off and see which one we like best. So this recipe starts off by taking raisins and soaking them in hot water to plump them up. That's the first time I've seen that, or the first time we've encountered that in a written recipe in this series. Most of them just say to put it into and mix it in. Next up, it says to mix together butter and brown sugar. So I'm going to give that a whisk. Next in is salt and 2 eggs. Next in is some corn syrup, and it doesn't say what kind of corn syrup, but I'm positive it's golden corn syrup. And at this point, 1970, pretty much the only corn syrup on the shelf in Eastern Canada was Beehive golden corn syrup. So, 1 cup. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Put that in. And we'll just give this a really good mix. Okay, now I divide the raisins between the tart cases. And I have another video, should be linked up there, on how I measure and roll out the pastry for the tarts. Take a look at that if you're interested. And this is just a full-on butter pie crust. Opinions are mixed on whether all butter or all lard pie crust is best for this. I kind of go back and forth. I like them both. So I'll give this one more stir, and then we fill the tart cases only about halfway to 2/3 because it will bubble up and you don't want them to bubble over too much. Okay, while those are baking, we're going to do the 1944 version, and that starts out with 2 eggs. Vinegar and vanilla. And I just give this a whisk. Now in goes brown sugar, and I whisk that in. Now the differences between the two recipes, the older one doesn't have corn syrup. The older one has twice as much butter, and I'm going to put that in now. The older one has vinegar, and the vinegar will sort of cut some of that sweetness because I think there's actually more sugar in the older one than the newer one. And the older one asks for the currants or raisins to be put into the batter and then mixed in with a spoon. Now, these go into the pastry cases exactly like the other ones. The batter is much thicker. Now, both recipes say that they fill 12 muffin tins, and in both cases, I have batter left over. So bear that in mind. Resist the temptation to overfill them because they will bubble over. Now the second version, the 1944 version, goes in the oven at a really hot temperature for 10 minutes, and then we lower the temperature for 20 minutes. So a different baking regime than the first one. Butter tart taste off. Okay, let's get a knife.
All
and
right.
we'll cut these in half and see which one wins.
Does one have to win?
Well,
I'm just asking.
No, I don't know that one has to win. I mean,
Okay.
I think they're going to be completely different. I really do think they're
Okay.
going to be completely different. So,
I'm ready.
there you go, Jules.
Oh, I
Cut them in half. Okay, so they look different inside, don't they?
Now, this one's distinctly darker.
So that's all brown sugar, and this one is brown sugar and corn syrup.
Okay, so that's what gives it the golden.
That's the
golden color in
yeah.
comparison.
Mm-hmm. Where's my tea?
I'd be happy if someone gave me this butter tart.
I was going to say exactly the same thing for the one that I tasted.
Well, I can.
So I just tasted the 1970 version, and it tastes like a butter tart.
Yeah, that one. The brown sugar is definitely there. All right.
Okay.
I do probably need to. All right.
Mm.
I haven't tasted this one yet.
Okay. Now, for my money, the 1944 version has twice as much butter as the 1970 version. The interior is runnier. I like the flavor and texture of the 1944 version over the 1970 version.
It's funny because I'd be happy with either one, but they do taste distinctly different, don't they? Like this one is sweet and pleasant,
Yep.
but this one is rich.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the word I would use. This one has a richer texture and feel to it.
So my preference would be 1944. I would eat too many of both. Doesn't really matter. I would eat too many of both. They are both excellent butter tarts. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say one thing. On a technical, when you bake these, the instructions are for a high temperature and then a low temperature and a really long time. If you do that, you're going to burn them.
Wait,
Let me just get that right out there. You're going to burn
we have
them.
a batch of those.
So I'll put a little asterisk beside it and let you know that you need to cook it less time.
But, you know.
But in the end, either one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.